Corruption. It's a word that carries a heavy weight. A silent plague that can erode trust, foster fear, and disturb the societal fabric. From the streets of bustling cities to the quiet corners of rural landscapes, the roots of corruption penetrate deep, casting shadows over the notion of fairness. This issue persists globally, affecting us all, directly or indirectly. It's more than just bribes or under-the-table deals. It's a violation of principles, a distortion of justice. When those in power abuse their positions, the consequences are far-reaching, breeding a culture of fear, mistrust, and cynicism. Have you ever wondered how such corruption has wormed its way even into the very law enforcement institutions that vow to uphold justice? It's an unsettling thought, isn't it? So what if someone decided to stand against this corruption? Let's explore a real-life example. Meet our hero in this story, a lawyer with a strong sense of justice and a sharp mind. Picture a person who wakes up every morning filled with an unshakable conviction to uphold the law, a person whose life has been shaped by an unwavering dedication to justice. This isn't just any lawyer, this is someone who has spent years studying and understanding the law, driven by a deeply rooted belief in its power to protect society. Raised in a modest home, they learned early on the importance of integrity and fairness. These values guided their path to law school, where they excelled, not only academically, but in their commitment to use their knowledge for the greater good. This is a lawyer who sees beyond the courtroom, who understands the impact of their work on real lives. Their motivation? A deep-seated resentment for corruption and a burning desire to expose it. With their intelligence and determination, they were ready to challenge the system. On the other side of this battle were the corrupt cops, seemingly untouchable and above the law. These officers, draped in the uniform that symbolizes protection and justice, were unfortunately masters of deception and manipulation. Their illegal activities ranged from accepting bribes to tampering with evidence, even orchestrating crimes themselves, all while hiding behind their badges. Their corruption was deep-rooted and complex, woven into the very fabric of the system they were supposed to uphold. They were expert puppeteers, pulling the strings of the criminal underworld from their seemingly unassailable positions of power. But how did they manage to evade justice for so long? Their cunning, combined with the fear and intimidation they wielded, allowed them to silence those who dared to speak out. They exploited their positions to manipulate investigations, ensuring they were always a step ahead of any suspicion. But their reign of corruption was about to be challenged. With the stage set, the battle against corruption commenced. The lawyer, astute and determined, knew that he was up against a formidable foe. The corrupt cops were not just individuals but a system, a culture that had taken root over the years. But he was undeterred. He began by meticulously gathering evidence, leaving no stone unturned and no lead unchecked. His first course of action was to delve into the murky depths of past case files. This was a laborious task, akin to finding a needle in a haystack. But he was fueled by a sense of justice, and the belief that the truth, no matter how deeply buried, would eventually come to light. He analyzed each document, each report, each piece of evidence, looking for discrepancies, anomalies, anything that could point towards corruption. Parallel to this, he began building a network of informants and whistleblowers. He knew that in a battle against corruption, information was his most powerful weapon. The courageous lawyer managed to find brave souls who were willing to stand against injustice. They shared with him their experiences, their knowledge of the corruption that had tainted the force. As the evidence began to pile up, the lawyer started constructing his case. He used his intelligence and his extensive knowledge of the law to weave together a narrative that was both compelling and damning. He knew that he had to present a case that was not just strong but irrefutable. This meant painstakingly corroborating every piece of evidence, every testimony, every claim. In the midst of this, he was also mindful of the risks. He knew the corrupt cops would not take kindly to being exposed. He took precautions, ensuring that his evidence was secure and his informants protected. The fight was far from over, but the first blow had been struck. The lawyer had stepped into the ring, armed with evidence, conviction, and an unwavering determination to bring to light the corruption that had been festering in the shadows. The battle had just begun, and the stakes were higher than ever. As the lawyer delved deeper, the extent of the corruption became more and more apparent. With the courage of a lion and the intellect of a seasoned detective, our intrepid lawyer began to peel back the layers of deceit. Like a surgeon, he dissected the intricacies of corruption, each thread leading him to another, each piece of evidence revealing a larger, more sinister pattern. His investigation took him on a journey through a labyrinth of falsehoods and cover-ups, each corner turned revealing another shocking revelation. The corruption wasn't just a few isolated incidents, it was systemic. It had seeped into the very fabric of the police force, tainting the institution that was supposed to uphold justice and protect the innocent. The lawyer uncovered a web of deceit that spanned across ranks, from rookies to seasoned veterans. It was a well-oiled machine of corruption, operating under the guise of law enforcement. Bribes were the currency, silence was the code, and power was the ultimate prize. In this shadowy world, justice was a commodity that could be bought and sold to the highest bidder. The principles of truth and fairness were manipulated and twisted to serve the interests of the corrupt. The lawyer was aghast at the extent of the rot. It was far worse than he had ever imagined, yet the more he uncovered, the more determined he became. He was a beacon of hope in a world clouded by deceit. No stone was left unturned in his quest for justice. He meticulously documented every piece of evidence, every lead, every connection. The lawyer was building a case not just against individuals but against a corrupted system. However, gathering evidence was just one part of the battle. The lawyer knew that the real challenge lay ahead. The corrupt cops had power, influence, and resources on their side, but he had something they didn't. He had the truth. The lawyer had the evidence, but exposing the corruption was a different beast altogether. Armed with evidence and the truth, the lawyer was ready to expose the corrupt cops. Now, this isn't a tale of a single courtroom battle, but rather a strategic chess game played out in the legal arena. Our courageous lawyer, with an intellect that would rival even the sharpest minds, knew that he needed to play his cards right. His first move was to ensure the integrity of his evidence. He knew that the corrupt cops would go to any lengths to cover their tracks, so he made sure that his facts were indisputable. He meticulously cross-checked every detail, every statement, and every piece of evidence he had. As the court battle began, the lawyer, like a skilled orator, presented his case with compelling eloquence. He weaved a story that was not just about corruption, but about justice, about the duty of those in uniform, and the trust the public places in them. The courtroom was gripped with suspense as he methodically laid out the damning evidence against the corrupt cops. But this was no easy battle. The corrupt cops had their defense. They had their own lawyers, who painted a picture of diligent officers, wrongly accused. However, our lawyer was not swayed. He stood his ground, countering every argument, dismantling every defense. The climax of this legal drama was when our lawyer presented a piece of evidence so damning that it left the entire courtroom in shock. A recording that caught the corrupt cops in the act, their voices unmistakable, their intentions clear. The corrupt cops had no defense against this. The truth was out. As the gavel fell, the courtroom echoed with the sound of justice. The corrupt cops were exposed. Their masks of integrity were stripped away, revealing the ugly truth underneath. The lawyer had done his job. He had exposed the corruption, the deceit, and the betrayal of trust. The corrupt were exposed, but what were the consequences? The battle was won, but the war against corruption continues. In the aftermath of this riveting case, the consequences for the corrupt cops were severe. They faced the full brunt of the law, their badges stripped, their reputations tarnished. Their actions served as a stark reminder of the damage that corruption can cause in the very institutions meant to uphold justice. But let's not forget the courageous lawyer, the beacon of hope in this tale. Their 2IQ strategy not only unveiled corruption, it also highlighted the importance of integrity and intelligence in our society. This case taught us that corruption can be found even in the most unexpected places, but also that it can be fought and it can be defeated. The lessons from this case serve as a powerful testament to the resilience of justice. As our story shows, one person with courage and intelligence can make a real difference in the fight against corruption. If you've enjoyed this story and want to explore more such intriguing insights into the world around us, don't forget to subscribe. Stay tuned for more fascinating facts and unravel the mysteries of our society together.